Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to stand and we want you to make some noise.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go racing here at Knoxville.
Only the best go 3 abreast.
It is show time at Williams Grove Speedway.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here at Eldora Speedway, it's showtime!
You got them for a breath. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the world of outlaws.
It's time to sit back, relax, and enjoy because, ladies and gentlemen, it's showtime!
Set to do battle for 30 laps. The green flag is waving.
Hello again. It's MRN's Wing Nation, presented by Hercules Tires, Ride on Our Strength, and by Grunt Style. Erin, Evernham, and Steve Post here talking sprint car racing. We always talk about our favorite time of the week and our favorite day of the year and our favorite topic to talk about. And just being honest, today's not one of those days. We welcome you in. We are glad you joined us. We lost a friend Thursday night with Greg Hodnett, and a friend to the show, a friend to us personally. And we got to put words together for the next 30 minutes, and there's no words.
I was just thinking that we're on a radio show, and I'm kind of speechless right now.
Yeah, I mean, just unreal. The Thursday night, plop down like I do every other time they're racing. You get on Twitter, and all of a sudden, and you can just tell the tone of the tweets that. And then we got into Erin and Ashley and I got into a 3-way texting, and we all had people that we knew, and we learned the tragic news that we lost one of the absolute greats in Greg Hodnett. Jeff Swindell is going to join us. Jeff, a lifelong friend, and I think that's been one of the things about this week in the aftermath of it is just not putting all the connections together until you see people's posts about the connection and the worldwide impact Greg Hodnett had.
Yep.
I mean, it's just this was a world-class sprint car driver.
Absolutely, and he has that Memphis connection. That's where he was born and raised. So that's his Swindell connection, and then everyone in Pennsylvania, anyone who follows the Outlaws, any of the PA Posse, people in Australia, he's gone down and raced, and it's affected a lot of people. Absolutely
amazing, absolutely tragic, very, very sad. And we're going to spend this show talking about our friend Greg Hodnett. We're going to share some light moments, and we had a few. And thank God we had those. We're going to share some of those, and Jeff Swindell's going to join us as well. And Jeff had a very poignant post on his Facebook page, and we're going to talk to him, lifelong friend going back to the Memphis days. Before we get to break and come back and honor the life of Greg Hodnett, let's talk a little bit about some of the race winners, because racing, while it stopped in Pennsylvania, it did move on. The Classic Ink Spring Printing and Embroidery, Hot Topics, World of Outlaws. I thought Friday night, just so appropriate, Brent Marks was in victory lane, Logan Schuart second. And Saturday night at Lernerville was Brad Sweet. The Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour, the Hockett McMillan Moore. I love this, that Wayne Johnson won one night, Johnny Herrera won the next night, and Sam Hafertepe the next night, kind of the big three there as far as long-term. Sam, not quite long-term, but Wayne and Johnny, long-term racers. IRA, Kerry Madsen, at the time it was his third in a row on Friday night, and Parker Price Miller got the wins. There you have it, the Classic Ink Screen Printing Embroidery Hot Topics. You can find out more from our friends at Classic Ink at www.classicinkusa.com. We'll be back. Jeff Swindell joins us here in just a moment. Hey guys, remember the days when you were always ready to go? Now you can increase your performance and get that extra confidence in bed. Listen up, BlueChew.com. That's blue like the color blue. BlueChew.com brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know that they work. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. And since they're chewable, they can work up to twice as fast as a pill, so you can be ready whenever the opportunity arises. Blue Chew is prescribed online and shipped straight to your door in a discreet package, so no in-person doctor's visit, no waiting in the pharmacy, and best of all, no more awkwardness. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. Right now, we've got a special deal for our listeners. Visit BlueChew.com and get your first shipment free when using our special promo code RACING. Just pay $5 shipping. Again, that's BLUEChew.com, promo code RACING to try it free. Blue Chew, it's the better, cheaper, faster choice.
Aggressive Hydraulics, where we engineer the cylinders that move your business. We specialize in designing and manufacturing purpose-built, application-specific hydraulic cylinders with superior precision and performance, making OEM products stronger, crafting cylinders that operate on a global basis in a wide variety of industries and applications. Get aggressive with your cylinder challenges. AggressiveHydraulics.com.
For over 50 years, drivers in sprint car, midget, micro, modified, and even dirt lay model have taken the checkered flag on Weld racing wheels. Legendary drivers like Joe Saldana, Carl, Mark, and Steve Kinzer, Doug Wolfgang, and countless other racers have trusted Weld racing wheels for their superior strength and lightweight construction to finish ahead of the competition. With 50 years of race-winning engineering and technology, American-made Weld racing wheels are designed and built to withstand virtually any abuse you throw at them. Weld Racing, proven speed.
O'Reilly. Easily remove dirt, dust, and grime with Armor All canister wipes. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up 2 Armor All canister wipes for $8. Plus, you'll earn double O Rewards points during O Rewards Member Appreciation Month. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, I'm Casey Kane. Now back to Wing Nation.
Welcome back. It is MRN's Wing Nation, presented by Hercules Tires, right on our strength. Erin, Evernham, and Steve Post. And we go to the Weld Racing Hotline. Joining us now on the hotline is lifelong friend of Greg Hodnett. Jeff Swindell's on the line. Hello, Jeff. Welcome into Wing Nation.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, I've known Greg forever, and it's kind of a tribute to get asked to do that. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that are probably a lot closer with him, but it really seems to get a little tougher and tougher here lately. And I got to say one thing: I've never been skittish about doing an interview or nervous, and this one's gotten to me.
It's with us too. I appreciate you taking the time to do it. We love calling and chatting with you, Jeff. We love chatting with you, and we appreciate you doing it today. But this is certainly not the topic that is our preference. That's the case. Jeff, I read your Facebook post. Your earlier memories, your childhood memories. You were about there from the beginning. You and Greg, as far as kids, with your parents getting together and everything. You kind of grew up with that guy.
Yeah, we did. We were kind of in and out there, but we were always around each other. Our parents ran around together when we were little bitty. And then they kind of had a little falling out there after Sammy started racing, the issues there between parents, and then as time went on, I mean, whenever I saw Greg, we were always friends. We always got along. We'd run into each other and go hang out in different places just by happenstance. And, Greg has always, his whole life been one of those people that, you might not see him for 6 months, and when you see him, it's just like, you were together the day before. I mean, he's just a really good guy. It's just, it's definitely kind of tough, but he was always a good person, and that's the main thing you can say about him.
He sure was. Jeff, in your Facebook post, you mentioned when you started the bleeder business that Greg was someone that you went to right away because he had that engineering background and he was always so innovative and just so smart with a race car. Talk about what it was like working with him in that sense and just how smart he was with a race car.
Well, and that was kind of the whole thing with Greg. I mean, he had a working knowledge of what was going on. And if he didn't, he would figure it out, always a smart kid, and he kind of grew up through his racing career with Roger Johnson, which Roger kind of helped him throughout his whole racing career. And as a matter of fact, Roger's over in PA today, helping Sherry and everybody out with all that mess that's going on over there. And I actually spoke with him this morning, but Roger was with him and brought him to the Two Winners team when I was driving for them guys. And so that he kind of brought him in as a teammate with us and made the deal with Two Winners to bring him along. And those were some really good times. But Roger, he's locally here, Memphis, and owned a large company, built it from ground up here, and he's kind of like Greg, brainiac kind of guy. And he's the only guy I went to with my bleeder when I was developing it, was Roger. Very smart guy, and he helped me a lot with some of the design and the detail work, and whenever I had a problem or issue that I was coming upon, I'd go meet and sit and have lunch with Roger and go over everything, and he would give me his insight. And he and Greg were really tight, and I knew Greg was the same way, so it was only fitting that, as soon as I got him out there, I got him over to Greg. And we got a lot of feedback out of Greg, and, Ryan Haney, Greg's crew chief, was a great guy too. But we had a few issues that we had to deal through on the original bleeder that we didn't really see with the 360 stuff, but we saw it more so with the 410s. And it was more prominent problems back in the PA area with those types of racetracks, the big half miles and stuff they run in. So that kind of turned me over to work on the second generation bleeder that we came up with the time delay and everything else, and that really solved all the problems after that. But getting feedback and suggestions from Greg was a large part of the growth of my bleeders.
I'm sure he was such a smart guy. I think in reading your post again, one of the other things, and we've just enjoyed a tremendous relationship with Greg here on Wing Nation. He has been, if there's maybe one go-to guy we've gone to, and I think the thing that always amazed me is the years when he's winning 25 races. He would say we need to be a little bit better. In the years like this year, early on when he struggled, he'd say we need to be a little bit better. Man, Jeff, this guy. I mean, it's not that he was never happy, but this guy was always looking for an extra tenth as a race car driver.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, and it's kind of funny, I get to go around and hang out with all the guys, and that's the one thing about Bleeder deal that's been a total blessing is that, I'm on every race team now, yeah. So I kind of get in the middle of all their conversations and up in the trailer, and you get to hear what goes on the inside of everybody else's rigs now, versus just your own. And it's really fascinating to be able to do that. But, Ryan and Greg, I mean, he kept Ryan pulling his hair out all the time, because, they may be, second or third quick, with the Outlaw deal somewhere, Volusia or wherever we was at. And Greg would not be satisfied. They would come in and have heated discussions on what to do and how to do it. And sometimes Ryan would throw his hands up, sometimes Greg would throw his hands up. But, I mean, they worked together really well. And they seemed to always accomplish their goal. But, yeah, Greg was never satisfied. He wasn't ugly about it, but he wasn't never satisfied. Which, there's lots of times I'll be in a race car and, you get it rolling around there and, you might be quick time hot laps or whatever. And instead of just messing with it and screwing it up, just leave it alone, Well, that wasn't Greg. It didn't matter. He always wanted to do something else to change it, to make it better.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And he was so humble about his winnings as well. Jeff, adding a little light, if I can say, to the topic, I have to ask you about this Headbangers. He took you to Headbangers bar?
Oh, my God. I'd never been to one of them bars in my life. And we were young back then. I don't know. We were of age, I guess, but not much past it. And, we run into them. We end up going, we're going over to this bar. Okay, well, I had my wife with me, and there was probably 10 or 12 of us, I guess. And we go into this place, and it's everybody jumping around, banging their head all over the place, and dragging them out there on the dance floor going nuts. It was definitely interesting to watch, but that wasn't the dance floor that I needed to be on.
I think that's
we still had a great big time. He still you always had a good time around Greg. We got to go do the Slick 50 thing and all that, out west and traveling with Greg on the road, and sometimes he'd ride the motorhome with me. Him and Joe Gertie both, actually. They jumped the motorhome with me. We had 3 rigs running up down the road, and all the drivers would pile in, and we really had a lot of good times. And that's probably when I got to be good friends with his dad, was through those years. And, Hoyt Hoyt was he was a lot like my dad. He was a hard ass. I mean, and there was nobody harder on Greg than Hoyt. And I saw a lot of that, from my dad early on in my career, until I really kind of got away from home and started doing my own thing too. And Hoyt was, I mean, it didn't matter. Greg could have won, and Hoyt wouldn't have been happy about it. Greg did something wrong on lap 21,
Yeah.
And he'd get on his ass, but Greg loved him for it, and he became pretty good friends, and then we introduced him to a good friend of mine, one of my best friends up in Missouri, Doug and Santa Thomas, and they got a cabin in lakes and go fishing and stuff up there all the time. And then Hoyt and his wife Jean and Jackie and Bonnie, they would all go up there, and they all became really good friends there for several years until Hoyt passed away. And Hoyt never did fish or anything, and they got him into the fishing thing. And Hoyt was just so excited about going fishing up there. It was he was just crazy about going up there and doing that. And it was tough on Greg to lose him. And at the funeral, Greg got up and spoke, and it really wasn't like a funeral. It was more like a roast.
Yeah.
I mean, he laid into his dad and had some sharp language, but it was one of the funniest eulogies I'd ever seen in my life. And I mean, he had the whole place laughing, going crazy. I mean, and then that was just Greg,
You never. I think that's the thing. You never knew what you were going to get out of him.
No, you really didn't. And I mean, he was always jovial and always, for the most part, except for during the race, in a good mood and cutting up and laughing and having a good time. I mean, I didn't really know his family up in PA. Sherry and them were well, but all I've heard was good things about him and how people would be great to aspire to be Greg. I mean, I think Ryan told me the other day, he said, one thing that Greg always did, and he said, I'd talk to him 5-10 times on the phone a day, and he said, but Sherry probably talked to him just as many or twice as many times, and he said it didn't matter if it was 2 seconds or 10-minute conversation. When he hung the phone up, he always told her he loved her. And he said he never missed a time to hit that mark. I mean, that was, I think that really says a lot about Greg, how he felt with his family and all the kids and helping out raise the kids and grandkids. And I think there was a lot more to Greg than just race car. And
yeah,
I know that's going to be tremendously missed.
For sure. We're going to miss him a lot in the sport, and that family is going to miss him as well. Jeff, we sincerely appreciate the time. We appreciate you making this tough interview and getting through it with us. And we appreciate your insight. And as you work through the grieving and healing process, we wish you the best in that, as well as we're all kind of at various places and various places at various times during every day. We wish you the best as you work through it as well.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, I appreciate you having me on. And, I just, like I said, I've never had an interview where it's bothered me prior to. And this one's definitely was real hard for me to do.
Well, thanks for joining us, Jeff.
Thank you.
Jeff Swindell, lifelong friend of Greg Hodnett. One of the things we talked about in that interview was you never knew what you were going to get with Greg, including when he walked on the stage at Port Royal earlier this year. And when we come back, we'll show one of those you never knew what you were going to get with Greg moments. Stay with us.
The National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum is proud to open the Brian Clausen Suite Tower in 2018. Located next to the museum, it's a testament to the sprint car community's commitment to honor Brian Clausen's legacy while helping the museum sustain financial stability into the future. To donate to the Brian Clausen Suite Tower and help cover construction costs, visit bcforever.com or call the museum directly at 800-874-4488. Bring your friends by the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum next time you visit Knoxville.
The American Sprint Car Series is back for its 27th year. Whether you're catching the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour at tracks like Williams Grove, Skagit Speedway, Knoxville Raceway, Lucas Oil Speedway, or any of the 6 regional tours across the United States, you'll find the ASCS Nation racing at a track near you. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram today. Then see the full schedule, track-by-track history, updates, and more at ASCSRacing.com.
O'Reilly.
Need auto parts but can't get to a store right now? Head to O'ReillyAuto.com. Buy your parts online and pick them up in any of the 5,000 O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide. No shipping cost, easy returns, and convenient pickup on your schedule. Shop your way at O'ReillyAuto.com. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
And no disrespect to my wife, is she here?
We're all like, where?
Okay. Making sure. Okay.
Wow.
Look, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. So my vices are winning races, eating whatever I want to eat, and even maybe a little sex every once in a while. But I'm married, so that doesn't happen either. So I'm not winning, I'm not eating, and nothing's happened on that front either. So it's pretty miserable this time of day. And don't tell my wife I said that.
I have never laughed at someone's miserable life before. I feel kind of guilty laughing about his miserable life.
Jump right in. It's okay.
I honestly don't even know where to go from here at this point.
So anyway, we'll go back to the original question. What's different about struggling?
I'm glad you remember the question.
So that was at Port Royal. Welcome back. It's Wing Nation. Erin, Evernham, and Steve Post. And if you would have listed the top 1,000 drivers that ran sprint cars and say who would be the one that would laugh us off the stage, Greg Hodnett would not be on that list.
No, probably not. No.
Because he's so clean cut, buttoned up, everything like that. But as we got to know Greg, we realized that, man, this guy's funny. Yeah. And as Jeff talking about his dad's, Greg's dad's memorial service, you're sitting there and you just didn't know what to expect, okay? So we went through, and one of the food vices he has was Oreos. So we went through all the Oreos, and he likes them with Pepsi, and so we went through all of that. So we go to Knoxville in August, and we're doing things a little different in Knoxville in that one of us, Ashley or I, are out in the crowd. And Greg and Paul McMahon are on stage, and I look in the crowd, and I see his wife, and we're taking questions from the crowd. And I walked over, and we had this from Sherry from Pennsylvania. Sherry from Pennsylvania has a question. Sherry.
Hi, this question is for Greg.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Greg, in one of your previous interviews,
yes, soda cookies.
You mentioned 3 vices that you have. I just wondered if you're getting enough of those now, but you parked there last night.
Wow. Obviously jokingly, I said, well, when you're married, you don't get that either. So we're not winning, and I've lost all this weight because I can't eat. So yeah, I got.
This is Hodnett.
Hold on. The best part, though. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. The best part is before he said any of this, he literally went, "Is my wife around? Is my wife around?"
She obviously was. Sherry from Pennsylvania, Sherry Hodnett, by the way.
So anyway, it worked out absolutely wonderful because even if it wasn't true, I shamed her into it. So it worked out great. But no, things have actually turned around a little bit. I got down to my ideal, well, not my ideal, but my ideal weight. Get your minds out of the gutter.
Keep digging.
So I got down, so now I can eat kind of normal food. We've actually won. We won last night. Yeah. And the other stuff's taking care of itself. So my life is good. Life is awesome. So Paul,
have you ever had that problem?
My wife's not here, so yeah.
And that was the Knoxville story, and Greg literally the whole, it just became this whole running joke the whole time along the way. It was interesting in that I left the stage that night, and I was walking into the pit area, and Greg and we met over at the Turn 4 gate, and I said, "Hey, buddy, what's up?" And he says, "You don't even realize He said, my wife is the biggest buster in the world. He said, you made this so good and everything. And I think that was the stuff that we never got to see. I'm telling you, the Port Royal time, I've been broadcasting since the early 90s. It's the first time in my life where if I had to say something, I couldn't say anything. I mean, I've never been that incapacitated.
When you told me this story, when you guys get back from Port and I watched it, I was shocked because I've just known Greg as this engineer-minded
at the racetrack, he was always that too. Yeah. And you just had this comedy routine that was just unreal. We need to step away. We've got more in just a moment.
Looking for custom racewear and embroidery? Do you want your race fans to represent your race team with trendy, original apparel? Contact Classic Ink USA, the new standard in custom screen printing and embroidery. Located in Greater Pittsburgh, Classic Ink USA's professional staff utilizes state-of-the-art facilities to transform your ideas into an attractive wearable piece. From custom track swag racewear to trendy quick crew wear, Classic Ink handles it all. Find out how you can get started. Contact Classic Ink USA screen printing and embroidery at the track and on your back.
Sage Fruit is a high-quality grower, packer, and shipper of Washington State apples, pears, and cherries. Sage Fruit believes in sprint car racing. Sage Fruit has been a proud sponsor of sprint cars for the last 15 years and a proud partner of Wing Nation for the last 3 years. We love sprint car racing, and we are there for our sprint car fans. Sage Fruit works hard to deliver an exceptional eating experience. We value our relationship with sprint car fans and appreciate your continued support of Sage Fruit. Ask for Sage Fruit at your local grocer.
Whatever you drive, wherever you go, Hercules Tires will get you there. Whether you're running on dirt or running a job, our dependable, high-quality tires are the perfect fit for your needs. For unmatched value, selection, and warranty with industry-leading road hazard protection, there's only one choice: Hercules Tires. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com or call 800-677-9535. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
Find Wing Nation on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and in the MRN.com Media Center.
It is MRN's Wing Nation, presented by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength. We are honoring a friend, Greg Hodnett. One of the things we always do is the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame birthday calendar. Birthdays: Charles Davis tomorrow, Steve Butler, Maynard Clark coming up, Brooke Tattenhall's birthday later this week, Bob Carey, Cecil Green. Really struck me, Erin, when I do those. I always sit down and I make some notes about the drivers. And a lot of times born this date, 19 whatever, or whatever it is, and then died here. And today, when I was making notes for this show, it was Greg. Ugh. And as Jeff Swindell said, Friday I was junk. Friday, and then Saturday I was pretty good, and then there was moments on Sunday, and this morning when I'm making notes for this show, and I'm writing down Greg Hodnett, June 18th, 1969 through September 20th, 2018. It's like, whoa, that's a routine thing that I do every week in talking about our Sprint Car Hall of Famers, and it's a Sprint Car Hall of Famer, but it's a friend.
It's our buddy.
Unreal. One of the things that we've talked about, you and I've talked about a lot, we've talked about Greg being an engineer. Mm-hmm. And I would frequently go up into the front of the truck, and I swear he did this because he knew I'm a dumb radio guy, but he would just start laying wing speed technology with tire compound and shock dynamometer stuff on me. And I'm sitting there going, yeah. And I'm sitting there going, I have no idea. And there were times during this I would text Erin, who's an engineer and a race car driver, and I'm like, you would love this conversation.
I used to love to talk to Greg. Yeah. And I used to tell you to hit record on your phone so I could hear, because you would come back and give me.
Yeah. He had 3 tires on the car, because I think Greg felt like Steve's not going to remember it till the end of this truck. So why would I do it? But I think that was the thing. It was like a couple of things that stand out in Greg's history. I think years and years ago, Kendra and I started this show. Kendra Jacobs and I started this show. And after Greg's dad had died, mm-hmm. we had Greg on, and Greg got choked up talking about his dad. And I think that was one of those, all right, that's an endorsement of Wing Nation, of what we do. Yeah. And I respect Greg and appreciate that. And then every time we would talk to him, we'd talk a lot about shocks or tires or whatever the topic of the day was. But he's like, how does the voice of NASCAR get into sprint car racing? And, how's working on pit road at the racetrack? And it was always a two-way conversation with him. He had an inquisitiveness about him that he cared as much about you as you did about him.
I mean, he was honestly one of the classiest drivers, if that used to describe him. Professional, smart, but the same thing every time I saw him. And I would go years without seeing him, but I had, obviously awesome opportunity to race with him years ago. But he always treated with me respect. And I feel like a lot of times he was on the show, he would say, well, as you know, Erin, and that meant a lot to me. That, like, Greg Hodnett doesn't need to recognize me as a race car driver. So that's just the kind of person he was, and I always enjoyed talking with him.
It's been fascinating reading a lot of the writers that cover Central Pennsylvania. Jeremy Elliott, Mike Mallett, who does a lot up that way. I've read Brian Householder, who's the New York paper. And everyone starts with something like, we work in this business and we're not supposed to have a favorite. But there's a guy that we all go to for answers. There's a guy that we all go to that can give us perspective. And I learned early on, as we've established here, I'm the newbie into this. We've been doing Wing Nation for 8 years, and I've been into sprint car racing for 8 years. I mean, I followed it along the way beforehand. But Greg was that guy that we would all lean on. And I think everyone kind of had that feeling that was like, no, we can't have a favorite. Yeah, we want to see everyone do good. But, boy, when you saw that 27 car, well, I'll tell you, when I saw him at Knoxville, when I saw him win that prelim night at Knoxville, I'm just like, man, this is just amazing.
And when we had him on before the Port Royal Living Legends
tribute race for him,
that interview just stuck out to me. He was so humble and felt like he wasn't deserving of it. And we're sitting there looking at his credentials like, you do. But that interview was special. Very special indeed. As we know, it's a big weekend up in Central Pennsylvania coming up, and you and I chatted before the show. I don't even know what to expect. I don't even. I think I'm like everyone else. There's part of me that wants to tune in, and there's part of me that wants to tune out. Yeah. Just send me the recap. I don't know because that 27 car. I mean, whenever anyone rolls into there, but whenever the World of Outlaws rolled in there, that car was always up front. Yeah. I mean, there is going to be something missing Friday night at the front of that field. And I like Friday night, they're doing a 27-lap tribute race to Greg with the World of Outlaws there. So Greg Hodnett, 252 410 wins, 36 360 wins. He was started in 1986 with a family car over in Memphis. 19 wins in 87 and 88 with a 360 sprints. Then he moved to 410s and really where he was outrunning the World of Outlaw Tour. But in 1998, just before Knoxville and what was really a driver change with Tim Schaefer, he ended up in Bob Stewart's Apple Motorsports team, and that moved him to Pennsylvania. And, that change was right before Knoxville. It didn't take long. August 30th, he was in Victory Lane at Pennsylvania in Selinsgrove, and he's been in Victory Lane ever since. Somewhere in that late 90s period, he needed a haircut. And he went to a beauty salon, and he met his soulmate. And there's a television interview with Sherry from last night that's just beautiful. And he met Sherry. And for 15 years, they had a life together, husband and wife, along the way. On the racetrack, 8 Central Pennsylvania point titles. He's currently leading. 5 Williams Grove track championships. He's currently leading. 5 Pennsylvania Speed Week crowns. And an absolutely amazing, amazing track record as well. This afternoon, there's a viewing for Greg. It's at Grace Fellowship Church in York tomorrow, a celebration of life. 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. And if you care to make contributions, you can do them at the York County Racing Fan Club Injured Drivers Fund. Or for Sherry, if you want to send something personally, the Steve King Foundation is taking that, and 100% goes to Sherry as she grieves and deals with everything. So that's the story of second-generation racer. Bachelor's degree from mechanical engineers at Memphis State. Headbanger. Didn't see that. Aspiring drummer. Yeah. Didn't know that either.
That's something we haven't had a chance to, never got a chance to bust him on, is his drumming ability. So just great stuff. Greg is survived by his wife of 15 years, Sherry. He's survived by his mother, Mona Jean. 3 children, 5 grandchildren that he just adored. 2 sisters, 6 nieces, nephews, and 1 great-nephew are all survived by our friend, Greg Hodnett. The quote that Jeff Swindell used, Greg didn't die in a race car, he lived in a race car. He was lucky enough to be called home while sitting right where he wanted to be, doing what he wanted to do.
Wing Nation has been brought to you by Hercules Tires and by Grunt Style. Wing Nation can be found on demand at MRN.